Hello, everyone, and welcome to For the Watch. I'm Miss K, and this is my very first time going live on this channel. I have another channel called Rewind That with Miss K, where I talk about shows in the crime genre series, such as Power, Snowfall, BMF, things of that nature, right? So I decided to start this channel so that I can talk about other shows, like the show that I'm going to be talking about tonight, which is Queen Charlotte. Okay. Romance, fantasy, whatever, especially Netflix series and movies and things of that nature. So if that's something that you're interested in and this is your first time coming across this channel, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay with me and know when I upload more videos like this one. All right. So let's get into it. I do not expect people to show up, to be honest. So I'm just going to be going in and I'm going to be talking. Okay. So let's talk. First of all, Bridgerton was something that I loved. I got Michelle. Hi, Michelle, coming on over from my other channel. I appreciate you. So I was saying that Bridgerton season one, I'm sorry, was a fabulous series. Okay, I loved it. Seeing the interracial, just the mix, right, of the society was like, whoa, what is going on here? It was almost like we were watching some type of just unreal world, right? A fantasy land. And I was like, this is dope, right? And there was no explanation. It was just, we don't see color around here. We have a black duke over here, and they don't have a problem with the fact that he's gonna marry this this young debutante, this white woman, and everybody's here for it. No one cares, and I just thought that it was wonderful. And then we see Queen Charlotte, who is all about the matchmaking, but she is something else too, okay? And now we get to her backstory and we see what the backstory is all about. All right. We see how it wasn't always that way. And it was kind of by accident that this whole situation took place, because when we meet Queen Charlotte, who is now just Charlotte at the time, she wakes up one day, overhears her brother pretty much shipping her off or selling her off to marry the king. And now her whole life has changed within hours, right? And when she gets there, she is being looked at like she's some type of, I don't know, this, like, how if someone's gonna buy a horse or something, like they open up, they see if the teeth are good and all this. It was just weird. So she's the dowager princess was like, teeth? So she has to smile and all of this, and oh, you have good hips, your job is to make babies, makes lots of babies for the king. Okay, so now she's got good teeth, she's got good hips, but guess what? She licks her hand. It's what the Dowager Princess does. Princess Augusta licks her hand. She smudges it on Charlotte's face, and she sees that it's not makeup. Ain't nothing coming off. This girl is black. So when they have their little meeting, she says, oh, she's very brown. Okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So of course, Lord Bute is just who had a stink face the whole season, guys. Oh, this is a problem. This is a problem. So of course she's saying, yes, it is a problem. But then Princess Augusta says, you know what? If the crown doesn't say it's a problem, there's not a problem. So what we need to do is we need to even things. We need to make this is an intentional situation from the king, and we need to add to her court. People of her kind, we're going to add to her court so that this is a big mix. Okay. And so that's what we got there. Okay. And I'm just like, you know what? It was an accident, but it was a good accident and it worked out. All right. But we're not going to talk about that too much yet, because that thing is called the Great Experiment. So actually, I'm kind of talking about it a little too soon. But so I'm just saying about how she's meeting Princess Augusta, and how she was, right? This first impression was just not the best. Okay. So, and also we see how she is with her brother, and we see that she's Queen Charlotte is a smart young lady. She's only 17 years old, and her life is pretty much being disrupted. All right. So next we also have the present day scene with Queen Charlotte waking up in the middle of the night because she has visitors and they come to give her some bad news. Now, I think in Bridgerton, there was a lot of times where she's always asking, is the king dead? Is the king dead? And I'm not sure at that time how I was thinking. Like, does she not want him to die? Like, what is she? I mean, does she not want him to be alive? What is she waiting for? Okay, and so in this series, I believe that it was just a fear of hers, and she was kind of on edge every day, kind of just waiting, and maybe in a way she wanted to get it over with because she just always thought that that's what people were coming to tell her. Because as you can see here with the backstory, she really loved him. So I think that she was relieved when this person came and told her that he wasn't actually dead, but instead it was her granddaughter. Okay, the Princess Royale. Okay, but she did not seem to care. Okay, and we're gonna talk more about that too. Now, let's see what else we got, guys. Okay, so now it's time to talk just a little more about the Great Experiment. And I feel like I said, that it was a mistake, right? You know how sometimes they say that there were experiments that happened by accident. Like, I think electricity was discovered by an accident. So I kind of feel like that's what happened in this situation. It was something that was like, okay, let's just go with the flow of things because in 6 hours there's going to be a wedding. We can't cancel anything, and let's just do whatever we have to do. And so it turned out to be, it started off rocky, right? Because there were still a lot of people that just turned their nose up at the Black folk or people of color, and they were just like not here for it, right? But when we fast forward to Bridgerton season 1 and 2, we see that this is highly acceptable, which is awesome. All right. And we also see that during this Great Experiment, what they were going to do was they're going to be dishing out titles, because in order to be a part of the ton, you have to have a title. And of course, in order to be a part of this situation where you are attending the king's wedding, you have to have a title. Okay. But let's not forget, guys, there are a lot of things that took place in this Great Experiment that were not included. Yes, they did include them in this wedding, and they called them lords and ladies and all that, but they didn't have anything else that came with it, like the lands. No, I don't remember exactly how it went, right? I think they might have gotten the lands, or it was that Lady Danbury went and said something about, okay, can we get some land? You know what I mean? Can we get some other things that other lords and ladies have? Because they were not having all the privilege. They just had the titles. And so this is what happens with this whole thing, that this experiment was just kind of like, all right, we're going to build as we go. But they had no plans on building as they went. They were just going to call it what it is. We're just doing this to make it look like we did some intentional stuff. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little more about that later on. But now I'd like to talk about being a wife versus being a mother. Now, this is a picture that was taken because I could not find it like a good picture that was on the internet or anything. So I had to do a screenshot of when, after the funeral of the Princess Royal, Queen Charlotte was walking through her halls, and she's looking up at the pictures. And one of the first pictures that we see is her and the king and their children. And so I had to snap this picture. But what I want to talk about, guys, is this dynamic. There's a lot of dynamics in this series. And one dynamic that stood out to me was how these women went so hard at being a wife, a dutiful wife, versus being a mother. And it really seemed like they were not motherly at all, right? Now, we've seen how she was with her children. When her son was crying, and I'm talking about Queen Charlotte, when her son was crying, what did she say? She said, sorrow, sorrow, prayers, and then moved on with the conversation, because now we're in a crisis, okay? The one heir to the throne is gone now. And actually, she was pregnant. She died during childbirth. So maybe if she had a boy, we don't know. But she was basically further in the line. I mean, out of 15 kids, you only get one person that produced an heir. That's insane, right? Now, she told her children that her and her father made 15 kids together. but they have 13 living children. So that means something must have happened to 2 of their kids. But that's neither here nor there, guys. They have all of these children. You would think that there would be no issue with producing an heir and a few spares, okay? But unfortunately, as we see, her oldest son's child has died. And I'm telling you right now, when he was weeping and she said, sorrow, sorrow, prayers, and then kept it moving, I honestly thought he was like her husband. I'm talking about the princesses, the one that died. I thought that she was the husband. I thought that was her husband who was crying over his dead wife now. I did not know until later on that this was Queen Charlotte's oldest son. And she had no sympathy, like nothing. She was just very cold. Sorrow, prayers. And it's so funny when you see like this contrast between the older Charlotte and the younger Charlotte, how the younger Charlotte seems a little more intuitive to things, you know what I mean? And maybe even a little softer. Like she has her little moments, but she seems more softer. And this one is like, just like, you know. And I'm like, wow. And the kids later on tell her, like, you are a horrible mother. Like, you haven't, like, look how you've been with the oldest son. I forgot what his name was, but look how you've been with him. His daughter died and you have hardly said a kind word to him. So I just think that it's very, it's something to be said about how these women are raised, these royal women, especially, and the noble women, right? They're raised to be these, you know, these dutiful wives. Everything is about your husband, your husband, your husband, right? We see Lady Danbury getting pumped on by this ugly old man. And here it is. She's just doing her duty, right? Even when she goes and talks to Princess Augusta, she's doing her duty even for him and for, you know, for everybody in the family. She's holding it down for him. But we find out later that she doesn't know her children. Like her children are being taken care of by a nanny or something like that. And when it was time to pull her son away and go introduce her son to Princess Augusta, he didn't know who the heck she was. Not really. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have, you know, they visit or whatever. Maybe what they say, the fathers and all them, they visit once a month and stuff like that. Hey, Little Rock. You know, they visit once a month or twice a month or something crazy like that. And guess what? When they speak, they probably just speak about royal duties and what you're supposed to do. Oh, this is how you sip tea. Oh, and make sure that when you finally come out, this is what you're going to do. And all of this, make sure that you have this, you have that dressed, and all this, blah, blah, blah. It's probably all business, right? And everything that you're supposed to do as an heir or as a lady, I mean, or the Lord, you know? Just terrible mothers, basically. But do everything for your man. Make sure that you do everything you have to do for your man. Even if he's a hideous beast humping and pumping on you, you just got to do your duty. But there's no duties to be done for your children. You just have the babies, right? Because they're just heirs to further the line. But don't have a relationship with them. Don't hug them. Don't show them any kind of love. You know, like it was really weird, guys, to me. The only good mother that I've seen on here is the Dowager Viscountess Violet Bridgerton, who now I believe is just regular old Lady Bridgerton. Okay, so that's pretty much all I had to say about the mothers. Okay, sorrows, prayers. All right, they have all these children and no one has any love for their babies. But at the end, when she finally she had to marry one of her kids off. Hey, Savannah, she had to marry one of her kids off, right? I mean, not one of them, but 2 of them. She had to put her foot down and say, listen, you guys have to get married, and you need, like, within like, I think next week they had to get married. And then next thing you know, we get news that one of the sons got his wife pregnant, which was good because, like I said, this is a crisis. And I think what she really wanted to do was, before her husband died, she wanted to deliver the news to him that don't worry, your line is not going to die with you. This is some good news. Okay. Even if George was probably like out in space some daggone way and didn't understand, I think it just felt good to her to say it. Right. All right. So let's move on. Now let's talk about Lady Danbury, guys. Can we just marvel? Can we just marvel? Like, I love this lady. I loved her since Bridgerton season 1. No, I haven't seen Bridgerton season 2 because I wasn't really interested in the son. But after I watched Queen Charlotte, And they just had to suggest that I watch the trailer of Bridgerton season 2. I was like, oh, this looks good. I might have to take a look. So I got some more Bridgerton to cover. I'm very excited about that, guys. But I just want to marvel at this lady. She is a character that I absolutely adore and love. I love how she speaks. I love how she carries herself. Like, she's just the bomb. All right. And she's also close friends with the queen, and she tells it like it is. And we see that in the young Lady Danbury, who, was invited to join the queen's court and everything, and also be called upon if she needs to, and tell it like it is. She's been like that from the beginning, just like, I'm gonna tell it like it is, with all due respect and all this, that, your majesty, but this is, your walls are too high. Your palace walls are too high. Like, they need to come down. You need to see what's going out. You need to see what's going on in here. And at that moment when she told her that, hey, Star, and at that moment when she told her that, when when Lady Danbury, young Lady Danbury, told young Charlotte, that her walls were too high, I was like, girl, because she was telling her, like, you don't understand the importance of you being in here, a Black woman being up in this palace, what that is to us. And it kind of reminded me of the story of Esther. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of Esther in the Bible, how she was a Jew who married whatever king she married. Her uncle was telling her, like, you probably got married to him for such a time like this to save us, to save the nation of the Jews, right? So it kind of reminded me of that. So I'm just say that real quick. But anyway, look at the beauty of this lady. Okay, I love it. But there's something that she did in Queen Charlotte when she was younger that I was not happy about, and I will talk about that soon, okay? But here it is, another picture of the friendship. Look at her with her ponytail pulled up in the tiara. Listen, when she be walking with that crown and then she got the hat cocked to the side, I'm like, look at this lady, okay? Inspiration. I love it. All right, so anyway, enough of Lady Danbury. Actually, not enough of Lady Danbury. Now we're going to talk about Lady Danbury versus Princess Augusta. Okay, so Princess Augusta, her and Lady Danbury, I'm sorry, this was them when they were younger. Her and Lady Danbury were having some issues, okay? Because did y'all hear when she called her girl? And when she first met, so this is when Lady Danbury first goes and meets with okay, sorry, Star. All right, so Lady Danbury goes and meets Princess Augusta. Okay, she presents herself and she says, girl. This is what Princess Augusta calls her. Lady Danbury nipped that in the freaking bud very quickly, like, Lady Danbury. And she said, excuse me. She said, I'm Lady Danbury, like, not girl. Like, nobody, I'm about to be over here calling nobody no girl after y'all done gave us titles and all that stuff. What is wrong with you? So she didn't say all that, but she might as well. And I love how she stuck up for herself from the gate. Like, no, I'm going to put my foot down right now. So she had to kind of like eat some humble pie a little bit, because she heard that, and when I say she, I'm talking about Princess Augusta. She heard that Lady Danbury went and had a tea with Queen Charlotte. Okay. And so now she wants to know, like, what's going on over there and all of this, because look, there has been no word about them consummating the marriage. All right. And we're going to talk about that too, because I don't want to be all over the place, guys. I'm not going by order, but I do have it organized to how I want to talk about it. Okay. Because I'm not going to be here too long. Now, we have not heard any word yet about them consummating the marriage. Is everything okay? Is the line of succession okay? Like, we haven't heard anything. All right. Because the wedding night was, in fact, a freaking disaster. But this is still the honeymoon phase, the honeymoon period and all that stuff. So she had, during the honeymoon period, you're not allowed, or you're not supposed to have visitors or anything like that. But Queen Charlotte was so freaking bored that she decided to call upon Lady Danbury. And that's what happened. So now Princess Augusta wants Lady Danbury to give her information. And she's like, well, if we get this and that and the third, then maybe she will. And I think this was the time where she either asked for lands, right? I think she asked for lands during this time. So now that they have lands, her husband, she's finding out from her husband that he's not able to attend certain social clubs that all of the lords attend. Why? Because he's black. So they still haven't corrected any of that, because the great experiment wasn't about this. This was just to give the titles and make it appear to be equal, but we're not really making y'all equal. Like, we even heard Lady Ledger say, oh, they may have the same money as us, but they're just not us, you know. Like, it was just a real disgusting remark that she made. So now Lady Danbury goes back up and she's like, listen, if you want me to give you more tea at tea time, then you're going to have to allow my husband to get into the white, or whatever they called it. It was, I guess it was some type of social club that he wasn't allowed to get into. Because every time there was an issue, if he got too excited, he wanted to have sex, and she hated having sex with him. And if he was too excited, he wanted to have sex. Like, if it was good news, if it was bad news and he wanted to, blow off some steam, he wanted to have sex. But she really wanted to make sure that he was too busy to call on her. Okay. Oh, another thing that I meant to mention about Lady Danbury during this time of with the motherhood situation. Did you hear the way she referred to her children? She says, I want to, oh, hey, Inga, thank you, baby. Come back. Okay. When you get a chance, baby. Thank you so much for showing some love. All right. So did you hear how she talked about her children? She says, what, when she was talking to like her maid or whoever that lady is, she said, what if he puts another one of his large babies inside of me? And I'm just like, his large babies are actually your babies as well. So where's the freaking love? And that's what I mean when I say the motherly dynamic on here is just, it's so low compared to how these women go hard for their husbands. Like, you see, Lady Danbury didn't even like her hideous, disgusting husband, but she was still doing things for him, right? And even trying to encourage him and let him know that he's equal to those. He's every bit as great as those other guys, even though she didn't like care about him or she was grossed out. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point. Okay, so another thing that happened between Lady Danbury and Princess Augusta was after Lord Danbury died, of course, Lady Danbury rejoiced, but she found out that the land and title was non-transferable. Like, it wasn't going to go to her or to her son. Like, I do have an heir, but see, like I said, this experiment was just something to say. It was not in place that they were going to transfer on titles to anybody and lands and nothing like that. And plus, he ran through all his money. And, now everybody's looking at her like the Smith Smythes or whatever that family was. They was looking at her too, like, girl, we need you to speak up for us. Okay. And so she kept going to Princess Augusta for help, as if Princess Augusta had any kind of power or anything. But in a way, she kind of did, because she kept trying to act like whatever she was saying is what the king wanted. She was speaking for the king. But it was like, girl, if only y'all knew, this is not, the king doesn't know what the heck is going on. Okay. And at this time, nobody knows that he's mad and he's sick in the head. All right. But it's kind of reminded me of how Cersei Lannister was trying to do the same thing for Tommen, just be, all bossy like, and try to make it seem like that was what he wanted, but that wasn't, but too bad the king was too busy being crazy or sick, mental illness, whatever he was battling. And I don't mean to say crazy like that, because I don't want to appear insensitive to whatever he was battling with, but they used the term mad king, right, in this series when it came to him. So nobody knew that. So she was just taking advantage. At the same time, she was trying to protect her son, because, the parliament wanted to hear from him. Because if he don't go see parliament, or he don't address the citizens or anything like that, they're going to look at it like, okay, where's our king? Why haven't we heard from him? Why hasn't he come to parliament? What is going on? And is he unfit to be a king? Because he just became the king, right? He just got his coronation or whatever. So anyway, There was a moment between the princess and Lady Danbury where Lady Danbury just started to cry, because at this time she's not giving up the tea anymore, because she has officially told Queen Charlotte that they will be friends, right? We're going to be friends for real. I'm going to be here for you. You're going to be here for me. So she's not going to betray Charlotte by giving up the tea about what's going on in Buckingham House. So she starts crying. And so Lady Danbury is like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Clear the room, clear the room. So when she takes out the little the flask from her pocket, and she's like, oh, this is like pear vodka or something like that. It's from France, or wherever she said it was, right? It was imported, honey. So it's supposed to be the best thing. And she was like, have some of this. She said, you would not do that. And she let her know, listen, I don't like you. But in so many words, I don't remember she actually said, I admire you, or I admire, our back and forth type of situation, because she's a different woman. She sees she's strong and things like that. Like, you put your foot down for what you want. Like, in so many words, she was saying this. And she said, so what we're not going to do is cry. We have to be tough. The situations that we're in and the hands that we're dealt as women, we got to be tough. So what we're not going to do is cry. Here, have some more of this. Let me pour you some more. I'm going to pour myself some. And let's take this shot here in our little tea mugs. Okay. And she said, now, she said, we're going to start over. What's going on at Buckingham House? And that's when Lady Danbury snapped out of it. And she was like, well, that depends on my son's title, right? Like, is he going to be the new Lord Danbury? Now, the crazy thing about all of this is that, yes, it was a cool little scene between them, but all Lady Danbury had to do was talk to Charlotte. She's going through all of this to speak to Princess Augusta, who really has no power. And here we go. You could have talked to Charlotte, because at this time, I think Charlotte had stepped up her game. Okay. She had came into power, because remember, by the time she found out that George was out here, losing his mind and stuff, she found out that he was being tortured by that doctor and all of that. And she was like, oh no, you're done. Get out of here. She was like, everybody pack my stuff up. I'm moving in this house. Like, she just took over, because she saw that George wasn't there. He's not even, she know that he wasn't fit to rule at the time. So she's like, I got to step it up and just be a strong woman out here and be the queen. Because she was walking around all scared and everything. Once they found out that they were pregnant, Charlotte and King George were pregnant, Princess Augusta decided, oh, I'm going to move in here. And so now she's acting all like, I don't know what to say. Like, she was acting very, and I'm talking about Queen Charlotte. She was very like, just withdrawn, because she just seemed like she couldn't even really be herself. Okay. Now I'm all over the place. I want to get off of this because I don't want to jump into certain things that I was already trying to talk about, guys. All right. So I'm almost done. I have like 2 more topics to talk about, and then I'm out of here. So also Lady Danbury and Lady Bridgerton. After her husband dies, Lord Danbury, we see that Lady Danbury is trying to figure out who she is. She made a comment saying that, for all this time I've been breathing the air of someone else's air, and I need to see what it's like to breathe my own air. She starts going on these walks and things of that nature. But when we fast forward to their present day, we see that she's starting to also have a friendship with Lady Bridgerton. And Lady Bridgerton is letting her know that, listen, I have some steamy dreams. Like, I need my water. Like, ever since my husband passed, I haven't been wanting anybody else or wanting, anything, any kind of interaction with anybody. But lately I've been wanting my garden watered, or my garden tended to. Like, she was trying to be real cute about it. And Lady Danbury knew exactly what the heck she was talking about. And she pretty much let it be known that, look, I understand. Don't be ashamed of that or nothing like that. Okay. We even have a scene before that when she went up to the church, because it was like the anniversary of Lady Bridgerton's husband's death or something like that. And she was crying. She was sad. But then Lady Danbury told her, she said, you're lucky, you're most fortunate. And it definitely rubbed Lady Bridgerton the wrong way, But she didn't understand where Lady Danbury was coming from, because she was in a marriage that there was no love. She just had to do whatever her husband told her to do. He didn't care about her thoughts or anything like that. And we have Lady Bridgerton, who actually had love in her marriage, and they knew each other since they were kids. They grew up together and they just had love. They had 8 children and everything was love, 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 right? And so she's saying you were fortunate about it. She wound up explaining that to her later, and they became closer as friends and things of that nature. Now, one thing that I was saying earlier that I didn't like what happened with Lady Danbury when she was younger was her affair with Lord Ledger. That is Violet's father, Lady Bridgerton, right here. And Lord Ledger and her had a little rendezvous. And she fell for this guy real quick. She really did. I mean, the older Lady Danbury tells Violet that she had a life and she loved and this and that and the third. And I'm just like, when you see the backstory, it just seems like her and Lord Ledger went on a few walks and then one day they screwed. Like, it didn't seem like it was nothing much. And then the next time she tried to go out to the field to meet him, he brought his daughter with him, Lady Bridgerton, Violet. And it was like, what? And so it was almost like, okay, he got the cookie and now that's that. But my thing is, why did you fall in love with the married man? Like, you knew he was married, so you really shouldn't have been spending all this time with him and catching feelings and stuff like that. You should have stopped yourself right away. So that is what I did not like about this whole thing. And when it was time for her to try to find love again or to get married or anything again, I respect her decision for not marrying and saying, I don't want to marry anybody else ever, right? But I just don't like the fact that she kind of I don't like the fact that the person that she rejected was Adolphus, right? That's Queen Charlotte's brother. I just didn't like that. Okay. All right. So like I said, they're friends. There was some type of proof that he was messing with Lord Ledger was messing with Lady Danbury, because he used to make birthday hats for the kids, for Violet and the other kids, everybody that he loves in the family. And he was making a hat out of nowhere one day, and little Violet was like, what the heck is that for? And he said it was for one of my friends. So fast forward, Lady Danbury had the hat like on the mantle somewhere, but it was hidden, like looked like it was hidden behind something, a picture or something like that. But she found it, Violet found it because she was snooping around while Lady Danbury was moving around in the house. They were supposed to go out for a walk. And so she was just like, okay, shall we walk? That was that. She left it at that. But then she tried to play a little game and Violet tried to play a little game and invited Lady Danbury to her house, and she had a bunch of the hats all over the place. Like, and it was just like, what was you trying to get at, girl? Like, you were trying to get her to confess that she was having an affair with your father? Because Lady Danbury did not confess it. All she did was say, you should leave the hats out. Okay. And I was just like, that's it? Like, why we can't get a little more explanation? But we didn't. Okay, guys. And that's just that. All right. So now we're going to talk about, actually, no, not yet. We're going to talk about this situation, their dynamic, which was not good. We saw how Charlotte, when she became pregnant, how she just says, the mother, Princess Dowager, she says, I'm just going to move in. And Charlotte was just like, oh my gosh, like she didn't say anything. Like, girl, you rank her. Why aren't you using your rank? Use it. She doesn't have to move in with you. Like, no, stay where you are. We're not doing this. But she just allowed herself to be stressed out in the house and to the point where she actually wanted to run away, because George was going through his mad situation where he was just being tortured where he was, and it was just a horrible hot mess, guys. So she never stuck up for herself when it came to Lady thank you, Savannah. She never stuck up to herself she never stuck up for herself when it came to her mother-in-law. She just kind of let her Bogart her way through, like, oh, it's okay, I'm just gonna be here miserable in life. And she was writing letters to George because, like I said, at this time, George was getting freaking tortured by that doctor. And in a way, I wondered what was the doctor's motives, because at some point it almost made you feel like he had some type of not a vendetta, but just some type of like hostility towards him for whatever reason. Are you mad because he's rich and he's royal? Like, what is it? Why do you want to torture this man? These methods are not working, okay? Hey, Tamika, the methods are not working. And so he was sitting there being tortured day in and day out. Reynolds couldn't do anything about it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just terrible. Okay. But when Charlotte finds out about it, listen, I already talked about this before. She bossed up, and that's what I loved. And this is when, at this time, she's not at the house anymore. And talking about Lady, what's her name? The princess. She's not at the house anymore, the mother-in-law. And so now, with her moving to to Q, now it was like, and when I say her, because I don't want anybody to get confused, when I say her, I'm talking about Charlotte. With Charlotte moving to Q, Lady Princess Dowager, the mother-in-law, doesn't have a clue what the heck is going on. Okay. But they're about to have a baby though, right? And so, before I move on, and I'm going back and forth all over the place, she was Princess Queen was so upset about this woman being in her house that she wrote to her husband, the King George, who wasn't receiving the letters because why? He's busy being tortured and he's out of his mind. And also, she wrote to her brother. But unfortunately, we got Brimsley, her little tail, the one that has her servant who has to follow her around, always 5 steps behind her. He's reading her letters, but this one, he's like, no, I can't send it to you. I can't send it out. Should I post it? So he's going to his lover Reynolds and saying, should I post it? Because she wants to run away, and this is not good. Reynolds is up to here with the whole situation, to the point where he's like, you know what? Post it. I don't care. Like, we're at such a loss right now. There's no control in this kingdom. You might as well post it. If that's what it's going to take to get somebody over here to help and do something, then do it. He didn't say all that, but he might as well had, right? So he winds up posting the letter, Brimsley, and the brother comes back. And I was actually very happy because I was like, girl, just please call your brother, please. I wanted to see him again because I just liked the brother. And I felt like that was really all she had left of a real relationship, real love, someone she knows that has her best interest at heart, even though she was upset about him shipping her off, so to speak. That was her brother. This is somebody she's been with around all her life. Now she's homesick. She wants to freaking go home. All right. Now, before I move on to the next, and though I think there may be 2 more topics, there was a scene where, hold on, let me go back. There was a scene where when Charlotte found out about her husband being, out of his mind, she went to her mother-in-law, Princess Dowager, and says, like, I didn't ask for any of this. Like, y'all took me away from my home, my language, my people, all of this. And it was a lie. Okay. Like, she called it. I don't know if I said this already in the beginning of the video, but she called it when she said there has to be a reason why they reached out across the world, all the way across the world, which I don't know how far is England from Germany. I really don't know, guys. But she said all the way across the world, on the other side of the world, whatever she said. But she said, why would they do that? There has to be a reason why they did that. There's something wrong. I know it is, because I'm pretty sure he could have found someone else. And so, yeah, there was something wrong. And she didn't know what it was. The brother didn't. I don't think the brother knew what it was. He was just like, he's like, I got to marry my sister off, and that's that. But the mother knew. Princess Augusta knew what the heck was going on. She knew that this man was crazy. Her son was crazy, but what she was trying to do was protect him. And that's that. At the end of the day, Princess Augusta wasn't that bad. We found out that it was all about protecting her son. When she saw that Charlotte made her son happy, she gave Charlotte her props, and that was just that. Okay. Now, and then when she saw that Queen Charlotte bossed up, she told her as well, it's on you now, because I've been carrying everything, and now it's on you. Since this is what you want to boss up, now you got to do what I've been doing, and he needs to go to Parliament. So Charlotte, she took on this thing where she kind of knew how to calm George down, but at the end of the day, his sickness pretty much prevailed. His mental illness, and she couldn't really all the way, right? So anyway, guys, so let's see what else we got. Tamika says, yeah, the doctor is power hungry and cuckoo for cocoa. Yeah. Unbelievable. And I liked him. Yeah, he was nice. And I really wish that Lady Danbury didn't do him like that. But yeah, hey, I would have loved to see him older, and had married and had his own children and things of that nature. But that didn't happen. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about George and Charlotte's love. Okay, like he admitted to her that it was kind of like a love at first sight type of situation with them. Okay, now this is after she finds out that he's all bugged out and everything special. Listen, they had a rocky start. This is him meeting her when she tried to climb over that daggone wall. And this was a prince, not a Prince Charming, but a King Charming type of situation. She was charmed by him. He, lured her back with his good looks and things of that nature. And, being a little, being social and being kind to her and things of that nature. And so she says, okay, yeah, I will marry him. It was a good wedding. It was a good reception. But then, when they get in the carriage, he says, oh, I have a surprise for you. And then when they get to the surprise, it's the house. He got a house for her. But here's the problem. We're not spending the night together. You're going to be here and I'm going to be at Q. We're not even going to have a wedding night. And she's like, what? Like, look, I don't know what happens on the wedding night. I don't know what the marriage duty, I don't know what we're supposed to do on that night, but I know we're supposed to do something because my governess told me that. And what you're telling me about you being there and me being here, that don't work. That don't match anything that I've heard of a wedding night. It seems very weird to me. In this scene right here, he's telling her, call me George, because she kept saying, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. And he says, no, just George, right? And she says, okay. So now in the fast forward to that night where he brings her to the house, she says, well, we're supposed to be together and, things like that. And he says, no, I'm telling you, because he started to get impatient with her. And he's like, I'm commanding you to stay here and all of this because this is what I want and all of this. And I think he said, your king commands you, or whatever he said that made her say, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were just George, right? And she says, Your Majesty, she bows and she walks away and everything. And it was days and days and days, guys, of her just being bored. I mean, she gets up in the morning, they do her hair, they prep her, all this. It was breakfast, lunch, dinner, just walking around. It was just mundane, in and out, day in, day out, same old crap over and over. I said, this is a freaking boring life. And she has no friends. When she gets up when she gets up one day, she says, I do have queenly duties, right, Brimsley? And Brimsley was like, no, this is your honeymoon. You're not supposed to do anything. And that's another thing. They have so many rules, right? And so, listen, like I said, very rocky start, to the point where she says, you know what, ready the carriage. Like, she's like, I'm going to Q. So when she gets to Q, she sees him looking at the stars and all, and he doesn't want her there. Like, just go back, go away. And so that's what we have there, right? But we also get to see, he came back, he finally came and he decides, oh, I'm going to have dinner with her and all this. And she was like, I don't want you here. Like, I'm going away from wherever you are at. I'm leaving that place, okay? Because you weren't here before. Now you just want to show up when you want to for dinner and all of that. So, he was like, of course, I command you to stop. And he wanted to explain to her and all of this and that. And they kind of came back and they started to, get ready to date. eventually did the daggone thing. And one thing about Bridgerton and whatever Bridgerton story, once the couple that we looking at their love story, once they start getting it in, that's all they show us for the next, I don't know how many scenes. Getting it in, getting it in, getting it in. That's all they freaking do. Okay. Now it even came to a point where they claimed they couldn't stand each other, but they started just having sex on even days. But it definitely seemed like they both were enjoying it. Okay. But anyway, she winds up getting pregnant and all that stuff. But we also get to episode 3 or 4 where we get kind of like a playback of the first and the second episodes, and we see his perspective. We see what was going on in his mind and what was going on with him during all these times, to the point, to the part where she was missing, what he was ready to do, how he was about to bounce because he heard she was leaving. Oh, she ain't here. I'm not about to be here either. And the doctor smacked the crap out of him. I guess he smacked sense into his behind child. So he was like, okay. And then he went looking for her, and that's when he found her. We also just see a bunch of different things that was happening to him while he was looking at the stars and all of this, and how, he was just caught off guard by her coming. The whole point is that when we saw his perspective, it was really about protecting her, because he felt like, you know what? I am the beast that she was talking about, because she was like, he's a beast. She didn't know she was talking to, when she was talking to King George in this scene right here that we have before us, she didn't know that he was the king, right? And so she was saying all this stuff like he might be a beast and this and that. So fast forward, Charles was telling Reynolds that, you know what, I might be the beast that she's talking about. She's too perfect for me. She's too smart. She doesn't need someone like me. So he was trying to protect her from himself. And so their love, guys, is one thing that was pretty amazing in this series, but especially when it came to Charlotte, because when she found out that her man was out of his mind and he was in the fields naked, first he's Farmer George, then he's looking up at the skies and he's like, oh, Venus, and he's all naked. And she just kind of like, immediately when she saw he was going out of his mind, she really adjusted very quickly and was like, first she said, I'm Charlotte. Then she said, no, I'm Venus, because she saw he was out of it. And I admire how that's how you knew she really loved him. To me, they fell in love pretty quickly, but whatever. It can happen, right? So she adjusted so quickly. Yes, she was upset. We found out later she was upset because she felt like she married him under false pretenses, like, oh, y'all lied to me. But it's too late now because she loves him. So now she wants to know what the heck is wrong with her husband. And for her to be able to just adjust to whatever situation that he's in with his mind, his state of mind, I just thought that was amazing. This is a 17-year-old girl at the end of the day, like who taught her to know how to love a mad king or a mad person. She don't know nothing about that, but it was her love that allowed her to just kind of like go right in and do whatever she could to treat him gently, right? And like he was fragile, because he was, right? So she had to say, oh, I'm Venus. And because she saw how infatuated or captivated he was by Venus and everything, so she had to become Venus, and then when we get to that, I think one of the last scenes where when she goes to run to him to tell him that they're going to have an heir and his line's going to live on, he was kind of like drawing on the walls and stuff like that. And so I think what she did was she got under the bed so that he can get under the bed too. And that's where they connect again, and that wasn't the first time they did that. So obviously that's what they do. Okay. Hey, Damian Robinson, haven't seen you in a while. Wow. Good to see you. So that's what they do, right? She has to do these things to interact with her husband, which is, it's sad, but I'm telling you, love is so powerful. And that's really what this series showed me. Like, love is really conquers all. It's very, like, it's amazing, right? So that she's getting under the bed with him. When she went to look for Charles, during that time when they were younger, and she went to look for him and she couldn't find him, he was under the bed. So she got under the bed with him and talked to him. So now you see the older Queen Charlotte do the same thing, and he kind of snapped back into who he was and who she was. And he was happy to hear that they're going to have another heir. And we saw that from their point of views, from their eyes, Queen Charlotte, as an older woman, when she looked at King George, she viewed him as the younger King George, that handsome, man, honey, right? And he did the same thing when he looked at the older Queen Charlotte. He saw the younger one. So it was amazing, guys, and I just think that the love between them, of course, that kept the kids coming and coming and coming, baby. Okay, like by the end of the series, she was pregnant again, and they just at the ball announced their baby to the world, right? And here it is. She's pregnant again. All right. Well, you won't have 15 kids. If you ain't going to do it back to back, you ain't getting 15 kids. You know what I'm saying? You do got to do it back to back. All right. So that's what it is with them. And, I just think that they did a good job with this story. And I feel like there is something that bothers me just a little bit. And that's the Black love issue to me. I kind of feel like, look, I love them bringing the races together. I love it. But I do kind of feel some type of way. I don't know if y'all catch this, some type of way about the Black love factor kind of being missing from these shows. Any kind of Shondaland show, like it always seems like, okay, if it's Black love, it's either toxic or it doesn't work out. You saw Lady Danbury and her husband. He was just this beast, and he was a terrible husband, this and that and the third. But the one man she falls in love with is this white guy who's unavailable, kind of very, married, and giving you the Olivia Pope and Fitz vibes. And it was just like, come on, like my point is, what I want to see is, as much as we see this great love going on, I want Shonda to understand and know. And look, I don't watch everything, Shonda. I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy. So I don't know if she's had a successful Black marriage or a Black couple on any of her shows. I don't know. But I kind of feel like, since I haven't seen it, I don't know. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Please let me know if you've seen a successful Black couple written in any of Shonda's shows. Because everyone seems to be into, an interracial couple. Mostly, if they're successful, they're interracial. So it's almost making me feel like, do you think that the only way that a Black person could be happy is if they're with a different race? You know what I mean? Like, Black love can work too. Now we love each other hard as well. Okay, it's not always we got to step outside to find true love. We find true love within ourselves, and we love each other as well. So that's all I had to say about that. And that's another thing too. When Lady Danbury had another opportunity, she gets this nice guy, and she's just like, no, because at the end of the day, she really just still was holding on to Lord Ledger. Okay. But he was married. So don't be worried about Lord Ledger, girl. Anyway, but I just want to see a Black love story. That's it. And I don't want anybody to take offense, because I don't have an issue with none of this stuff. But I do want to see a Black love story. Okay. Now, thank you guys so much for being here. If you come across this channel and you are not subscribed, I hope that you will subscribe. Okay. I'm going to try to post more videos on this channel as much as I can for right now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Damian Robinson, Tamika, Savannah, and let's see who else is in here. Star Alexander, Little Rock, Michelle. You guys take care and be blessed. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.